But that leads me to my next article, and this is also from the November 15th Business Record. It's an editorial from the Business Record, and I'll put that on the camera real quick. And it says, let's cut the budget with care. So we do need budget cuts. We need budget cuts. We need to make ends meet, within our homes, within our local government, within our state government, with our federal government. We have to tighten up and batten down the hatches. And so that's acknowledged. But there are certain ways things like that can be done. And this is what the Business Record recommends. In April 2009, Representative Craig Paulson released a list of more than $215 million in budget-saving measures. Those included savings of $72.5 million by cutting all state employee salaries. We know how that turned out. So far, I don't think that story's over yet. Recently, there was controversy about a decision by Chet Culver regarding state employee salaries that's being considered by the new administration that'll take power in January. All right, the article goes on. 17.8 million by charging state employees a monthly fee for health insurance premiums, 34 million by selling the state's fleet of vehicles, and 20 million by combining all state information technology systems. Okay, so that was their speculation on what could be done. These things may still yet be on the table, and we will find out once they are in office. But the Business Record does go on to say, however, we would be sorry to see the hacking extend to programs such as the Iowa Power Fund. Cutting back on overgenerous compensation sounds good. Backing away from the future is another matter. Some of the Power Fund projects have helped Iowa attract companies, which means more jobs and more tax revenues. Advocates of smaller government like to say government should be run like a business. However, let's not forget one of the most basic lessons of successful business. You have to spend money to make money. And so that does go back to my earlier question that I asked, is it possible to create jobs without spending money? My thought is no. It sounds like the Business Record is saying something similar, but the Business Record is also saying something that's pretty crucial, and that's not cutting the future off to spite our face or to tighten up in some arenas, but not tighten up in other arenas. And I have to say that I do agree that I have concerns about something like that happening. And I'll go on with another article that kind of explains my thought process a little bit better. This is coming from the Occupational Outlook Quarterly. It's from fall of 2010. And I'll show the article, but it is a copy, and you may not be able to see the title. It says, "You're a what?" And then there's words down here that have faded into the print, so I'm going to have to read it off. You're a what? Wind turbine service technician. All right. The article says, wind turbine service technicians, also called wind techs, repair and maintain the complicated machinery inside wind turbines. Repairs include everything from fixing circuit boards and motors to inspecting turbine blades to replacing generator components. As the lead technician on a wind farm, an area where a group of wind turbines produces electricity from wind power, Brandon, and his last name is Johnson, consults an internal website to check the status of each of the farm's turbines. He and the site supervisor assign jobs to the other wind techs, usually at a morning meeting. With roughly one technician for every 10 turbines, and each turbine containing many intricate pieces, there's a lot of work to be done on the farm. Wind techs service the blades, or nacelle, by entering the turbine through the base of the tower and climbing a ladder. When working outside the nacelle, repairing the sensors that measure wind speed, direction for instance, wind techs suspend hundreds of feet off the air. And so the article goes on to explain other aspects of wind turbine maintenance. And then, regardless of who their employer is, most wind techs work at wind farms in the Midwest, Texas, or California. And so the Midwest would include us since we are number two in the entire nation, making us number one likely in the Midwest, which is wonderful. The article goes on to explain Brandon's background. He received his training as a wind tech through a program at Iowa Lakes Community College in Estherville, Iowa. Because of the complexity of electrical and mechanical systems inside turbines, prospective wind technicians learn about electrical theory, motors, generators, and hydraulics. Brandon also received hands-on knowledge working on school-owned turbines, blades, and touring manufacturing facilities. So the wind industry is relatively new. There are no current standard certifications. Completing a training program like the one Brandon attended, that's at Iowa Lakes, isn't always required. Many companies seek new employees who have electrical experience, and they offer on-the-site job training. And according to the wind industry, wind turbine energy produced grew by 39% from 2004 to 2009. And that as new turbines are constructed, new opportunities for turbine technicians follow. So that's pretty exciting that we do have an exciting industry. It's an emerging industry. It's new. It's renewable. It's helping our farmers. It's helping our environment. It's helping to provide opportunities for young people. And as we read from the Kansas City Star, we're looking for opportunities, and we should encourage those opportunities to grow in Iowa and hopefully not make the mistake of cutting something out of our budget that we actually really need to keep our industries, our manufacturing and energy industries going. We don't want to finish before we start. Okay, so I also have something from Thursday, December 9th, Des Moines Register. This is from the business section. And I'll put it on the camera right here. It says, grants to assist alternative fuels research in Iowa. I like the sound of that. Power Fund approves $2 million in aid, federal money to follow. Iowa State University is tapping the Iowa Power Fund for a $2 million grant that will leverage a tenfold return in federal funding for research on everything from biomass gases to wind power. The state grant will lead to a 5-year, $20 million grant from the National Science Foundation, targeted for universities in smaller states from the East and West Coast schools that traditionally get the lion's share of federal research dollars. So the money will be administered by Iowa State, but also available to the University of Iowa and the University of Northern Iowa for research in renewable fuels and feedstocks that includes corn, grasses, algae, and biomass. The money also can be used for research into wind energy. And I think that's very important since biomass and biofuel and ethanol are very debatable at this point in time. There are so many varying industries arrayed against biomass, and that's including oil, gas, grocers, pork, hog producers, environmentalists, and even some car manufacturers. And so it's pretty interesting that such a vast array of groups are against this industry. And I think it might be safe to also not contemplate research into wind energy, but to really focus on wind as well. The Iowa Power Fund Board approved the $2 million state matching grant during its meeting Wednesday in Des Moines.